So in this video, I'm going to be talking about bulking and specifically how I'm not going to be ending my bulk anytime soon. And I've been bulking for about a year now, and I've gained like almost 30 pounds, but I haven't really noticed much fat gain. So I'm thinking like if I just continue that, then I should be good for at least another 20 to 30 pounds extra. But really, I'll talk in this video about how I'm gonna like keep bulking and not really cut anytime soon because that's kind of a temptation that gets to a lot of people. Basically, what I'm saying is to just trust the bulk. And I've been getting about 2 pounds per month, which is like, the recommended amount, but sometimes a little bit more than that. And I'm going to be talking about how I don't fully agree with like a super slow bulking approach for especially my position because I think if I were to bulk really slowly, then I'd just be selling myself kind of short. All right, now let's talk about the different approaches you can take to this. Now, one of them, which I need to address, is main gaining. Now, this is really just not it, all right? If you're main gaining, like, you really need to bulk to get the most results, like the best results. You know what I mean? Because you need those extra calories to actually build the muscle, and where are those going to come from if you're not bulking? Like, sure, you could do recomp if you're a little bit higher body fat and also more toward the beginner side, but still, I think if you really want the best results, then you gotta bulk. Like, for example, for me, right, I'm like almost 130 pounds right now, and if I were to just main gain, then how am I gonna build more muscle if I'm just staying at 130? I'm like pretty low body fat, you know what I'm saying? Like, Greg Doucette says, like, get to a high enough, like, if you're too low of a body fat, then you should bulk until you're around, like, 12% or so, right? And then you should main gain. I'm about 12 to 15% right now. And so he's saying basically I should main gain, and I'm like 130 right now. How am I gonna get any bigger? Like, you have to actually bulk to get bigger. I mean, it sounds kind of obvious, but still, really, I don't agree with the main gaining approach. It's like, sure, the actual amount of calories you need to build the most amount of muscle might not be a lot to where you need to bulk significantly, but just the fact that you need to eat a larger amount of calories in a surplus, right, to actually like create the environment to really stimulate the muscle growth and create like an anabolic environment within your body. Another approach is dirty bulking. Now, for dirty bulking, I define it as eating an excess in a surplus, like a lot of calories extra. I don't really define it as like unhealthy bulking, like in terms of the food, but just the amount of calories. I think, I don't think it's like as bad as a lot of people say, but I still definitely don't think it's the best approach. And I would consider this anything more than like a 500 calorie surplus. Because, like, if you dirty bulk, then you're just going to be gaining more fat than muscle, and it's going to be counterproductive because that's going to lead to you needing to cut sooner, which I'll get to it later in this video, is not really a good thing. So, I would not recommend main gaining or dirty bulking, but the last one is clean bulking or lean bulking, right? It's basically where you have a surplus of about 2 to 300 or so, even up to like 500, right? I think this is the best approach, but it's sort of like it's not just one thing. There's a sort of spectrum, right? And a lot of people think of lean bulking as like a super slow bulk, like 100, 200 calorie surplus, like, you know, 1 to 2 pounds per month, right? But I think for me, especially, like in the position that I'm in, when I'm like pretty young, I'm pretty light, like pretty small, right? Like, I can bulk pretty quickly and gain a lot of muscle, especially because I'm not like super advanced of a lifter either. So I think if you're someone who is slightly more beginner, a lot lighter, a lot smaller, and younger, then I think it's okay to bulk more aggressively. And I found it to be pretty productive for myself. I've been gaining like a pound a week recently, and I haven't noticed much fat gain. Like I said, I haven't noticed much fat gain in the past year of bulking, and I'm not stopping anytime soon either. I just think if you're in that position like myself, then slow bulking is just a bit too cautious, you know? And I think you can grow a bit faster than that and have more potential. I mean, I guess if you think of it in a really technical way of like, oh, the maximum amount of muscle growth you can gain is like this much, so then theoretically you should bulk in this amount, gain this amount of weight. It's like, Sure, but it's just something about like being really light and just getting your body weight up that really does something. And obviously, this should all be strategic, should all be tracked, and while training, not just like stuffing your face, going to McDonald's, just trying to get like 30 pounds more. Like, obviously, it's still not like crazy fast. I mean, 30 pounds in a year, like, that's pretty solid. But I also wanted to talk about cutting while you're young. And I really don't think this is a good idea. And I want to share my story of how about 8 months or so ago, I wanted to cut, right? And guess what? I was like 110 pounds. Okay. I thought I was like, because you know how people say once you get to like the top end of the body fat range, you should cut, right? Which is like roughly 15 to 18%, right? And I thought I was like getting to that range. And I'll put a picture if I can find one of like around that time what I looked like. It's just crazy. Like the body dysmorphia is crazy. Like I genuinely thought I was reaching a higher body fat and I needed to do like a mini cut to continue the bulk. Like that was actually so stupid. And like I really don't think that's a good idea. Even if you are getting there like a little bit, really just question yourself because like it sounds kind of stupid looking at the picture thinking like how did you think you needed to cut, you know what I mean? So really just like stop yourself and ask yourself like do I actually need to cut? Because chances are you probably don't and you probably shouldn't either. Because if you cut while you're young, first of all, that can kind of like stunt your growth because you need the extra calories to like grow taller, right? Just like how you need extra calories to build muscle. Same goes for any other tissue, pretty much, right? Because that's like what your body's made of. Really, what you need to do is to delay the gratification. So just bulk throughout your young years. That's where you're gonna get the most growth. You're really like prone to growth, and then cut later. Because like if you cut right now, you're just kind of like cashing in when you don't really have much, and chances are you cut down, but then you're not even gonna look that good anyways because you haven't spent those years bulking. And really, I'm saying all this to myself like 8 months ago, who thought I needed to cut at 110. Like bulking is where most of the growth actually happens, so you just need to delay it, delay the gratification, and really cash it in later when you actually have the results and have something to show for it. And this even goes beside like age, although that is definitely a factor. I think if you're like below 20-ish, you shouldn't really cut. I mean, if you should only cut if you actually need to, if you're too high body fat. But like just to sort of look better, if you're like 15%, don't cut. Like if you're that young, you know what I mean? But aside from age, like you still need to watch yourself because body dysmorphia is a real thing and could really creep up on you and you might think you need to cut when you're like 12%. And obviously I'm not saying to take this to the extreme of just bulk until you're like 25% body fat. Obviously not. Like stop and cut when you actually need to, when you're getting like too high body fat that's actually unhealthy and not best for growth. Also another thing is that you could probably bulk for a lot longer than you think. Like like I said, I've been bulking for a year. I said this like 3 times now. And I realistically see myself bulking for another year, like 2 years straight. Because really like I haven't noticed much fat gain. Like of course a little bit, yeah. And of course like I've gotten a bit taller as well, so that contributes to the 30 pounds, but like overall like I could really bulk for a lot longer. But back about 8 months ago I thought like, you know, I could maybe bulk for like 4 months and then do a mini cut. But really it's like yeah, if you're like a lot more advanced and like, older and bigger, then yeah, like that's kind of how it works. Maybe bulk for like 5 months and then do a mini cut. But for me, like in that scenario, it just doesn't apply to like that avatar, like that person, type of person. Because really, you could bulk for a lot longer as that person. But if you're like a pro bodybuilder, then it's obviously a bit different. And also, if you're more advanced, then a slower bulk as well kind of plays into that, like the speed of the bulk. Especially since if you're more advanced, then you can't build muscle as fast. Also, I think mini cuts are a good tool, and you don't need to do like a full cut unless you go crazy with the bulk or you're already at a high body fat percentage. So I think mini cuts are good, but don't use them like use them sparingly. Like I said, really check yourself to make sure you're not just like just have body dysmorphia because that's what I had. And You know, if I actually did cut, thankfully I didn't cut, but if I actually did, that would have been so stupid, right? So, yeah, basically the whole message of this video is just trust the bulk. That's just to sum it up. And if you made it this far in the video, then I'm assuming we have pretty similar ideas about training. So if you want any help with your training, then I can help you for completely free. My email's in the bio. Just let me know. But anyways, keep the ball going. I'll see you later.